Good day, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Ngubevana. I work for a company called Vodacom as a group EHOD for a department called Digital Process Reengineering. So today I'll be discussing how we've successfully been able to extract the use of RPA together with artificial intelligence. So I think I don't want to start by assuming that everybody understands what RPA is and what AI is. So I'll just give a brief overview of my understanding and how we've been able to employ the two technologies. So at a very high level, RPA is a kind of technology that's able to be configured to perform rules-based repetitive type of work. The data that RPA can handle needs to be structured, and it generally doesn't have the ability to learn. So generally what I describe RPA is the kind of technology that gives you unlimited number of hands. Whereas AI, on the other hand, has the ability to handle large amounts of data um, and make complex calculations relatively faster. It's able to simulate human intelligence, right? So we've seen this coming into play through the use of natural language processing, which is called NLP, optical character recognition, which is OCR, and I think a lot of industry users would understand that there's a lot of processes that require for PDF documents or images to be scanned in order for a process to be automated. So we've been able to use OCR through those kind of processes. And machine learning is a relatively new area that we've started working in that has been yielding a lot of business benefits for us, but I'll talk about that later on in the session. So what I generally then describe AI in our team is almost the unlimited brain capacity that you can unlock through these technologies. So one of the questions that I generally get asked is, why do I want to actually merge these two technologies when RPA has been in existence and functional in a lot of companies without the need of AI? And in the same vein, artificial intelligence has been there for years and years. So why combine the two? Well, for me, it's actually quite simple that RPA has been able to be enhanced, right, with a combination of artificial intelligence to unlock the cognitive automation ability of any enterprise. So, what we've been able to see in our space is that we've been able to discover new automation opportunities. So, what this means is that where we would have had to either employ a lot of resources in terms of mental capacity and also hands, we've almost been able to redefine what we call resources. In that, if you remember how I had highlighted how we define RPA as this technology that allows you to have unlimited number of hands, when you combine that with the power of artificial intelligence, you almost have tapped into an unlimited number of resources from a brain capacity. When the decisions have been made by the various technologies, you are able to then get the RPA technology to work in tandem with those technology to be able to execute on the decisions that have actually been made by the artificial intelligence. So what we've also been able to do is we've seen that through the use of artificial intelligence, we've been able to integrate RPA with a whole lot more technologies than what we were able to before, in that now where we would have traditionally excluded the reading of documents, we are now able to increase the number of processes from an end-to-end perspective that we can automate. We've been able to start looking into unstructured data and even handwritten forms to try and see, because at the end of the day, we don't work in a perfect bubble where all of our data is structured and comes in a rules-based format. So we've been able to integrate and see ourselves doing more with the technology than what we had traditionally. And we've been able to obviously also be able to get users to interact with machine learning. So you'd find that a lot of business users tend to think that artificial intelligence or AI is something that is divorced from their daily operations. And we've been able to use predictive models to actually include RPA in how we're able to generate revenue for the organization and be able to save customers through our predict models that will then feed information into either the sales teams or the front end agents, and we then able to get them to act based on the predictions made by the machine learning engines. And then you would find that once the agent has actually acted upon the prediction, it then has the RPA solution then acting on the manual task that would have followed the prediction and actions of the people. And what we've been able to also unlock through this integration is that because we're able to have machine learning predicting certain behaviors from a customer perspective, it's allowed us to respond to certain actions that we wouldn't have naturally had the platform to do. And we've been able to increase our ability in terms of understanding our customer base a whole lot better than what we naturally would have been able to, and unlocking new revenue generating streams through these kind of initiatives. And I think what we've also realized from a team perspective, where the RPA team was generally seen as the RPA team, and also from our developers, our team structure, their journey in terms of growth was always limited to understanding what RPA is and what it isn't, and how we could unlock the value of the one technology in its unison. But what we've found now through the use of artificial intelligence, our RPA developers have been able to unlock the automated cognitive workflow element that they naturally didn't have the capacity to do. But because we work so close with the data scientists, the team almost is one team. That's something I want to touch on a bit later on, but that becomes very important in that also from a data scientist perspective, we are now being able to utilize these models that they've always known could be utilized broadly by the organization, but it's just that they didn't have a way to integrate machine learning and AI into the everyday life of the organization. Because what they've always seen is that a lot of their solutions are generally great solutions, but they've struggled to operationalize them. So what we've then been able to do through the combination of artificial intelligence and RPA is actually the operationalizing, yeah, of the two technologies in order for us to actually unlock value into the organization. Then another value that we've seen in terms of where the stakeholders get to benefit is that from a business users and a lot of our executives, they've started to see the art of the possible when it comes to RPA. In that traditionally we were positioned as a department that is there to save costs. And when you really think about the narrative of saving costs, it's generally linked to FTE. And I feel like in the context of South Africa, I don't think any organization, right, should ever have that kind of target of saying we are implementing a technology purely to reduce FTE. And I'll tell you why I feel that it's a zero-sum game, right? In that we live and work in South Africa where the unemployment rate is considerably high. So if you are going to be seen as a responsible organization, you should not want to be associated with the technology that actually breaks, right? You want to be associated with the technology that actually contributes to building the society that we operate in. And there's also so much savings, or so many savings that you can do, right? In that there's only so much that also that RPA can do. So it's not as if you will be saving billions and adding billions of rands worth of revenue, of value linked to the organization through RPA. And right, and so through the limitations of RPA is linked to there needs to be certain types of criteria that a process needs to meet in order for RPA to be successful. So we have then found quite early on in our journey that the use of RPA by itself is quite limited in terms of value, right? And one of the reasons why a lot of companies have gone through this journey or are going through this journey of trying to save costs is because generally the top line is under pressure. So therefore, the next best option is that if you can't sell more, try and look operationally where you could reduce your costs. But what we've then been able to look and unlock in our organization is, how do we change the narrative associated with RPA? In that, if we could actually land it as a technology that is an enabler of the greater technology of the greater strategy in the organization, we ended up being seen as something that adds value in terms of the top line versus being able to look at RPA as a way to reduce cost. And I think even from a people perspective, the perception around that being associated with a team that breaks business or breaks people's power and all of those negative associations that we had with RPA, I want to say they slowly reducing in our organization, because we're starting to ask ourselves, if we had unlimited number of brain capacity and unlimited number of hands, what would we be doing? So the conversation then almost stopped playing around the space of what is next, right? In that, if people do leave, maybe it could be that we don't replace them, right? But if people could do more with their time, what more could they do? So it becomes a very positive and enlightening conversation to have, that I'm no longer associated with the job killing that I previously used to be associated with, because we had unlimited use cases that we used to have in our organization. So a lot of people want to then generally want to understand, how did how did we get it right? And I think it's still a journey. So I don't want to say we perfectly there, in the sense that a lot of organizations still tend to focus on the conversation around FTE reduction. So what we've started off with is trying to understand, how do we use RPA to be the ultimate enabler. I know it's quite ambitious, but that's the kind of narrative and ambition that we have in our team, right? How do we use RPA to enable another team to reach their KPIs? And I'll give you an example of the kind of conversations that I have. We've got a forensics team, and if anybody knows about what forensics teams do, we are forever being bombarded by different types of syndicates and different ways that people are attacking our customer base in terms of doing fraud and SIM swaps. So that team is forever trying to use technology to help them fast track the identification of fraudulent transactions. They also need to be able to eliminate false positives, right? So that they're able to focus on true fraud cases. Because one of the biggest pain points in any forensics or fraud department is that there's so many possible frauds that are happening, that they have to investigate every single possible alert in the value stream, but they struggle to get through everything. And that's why by the time they pick up any issues, it's already far gone in the fraud, that there already is customer impact or reputational impact. So we've now started to focus more on, how do we then help that forensics team, as an example, be able to fast track the identification of different fraudulent cases? And also, I want to talk about how we've set up our center of excellence, in that it took a while. Well, the team has been in existence for 24, 25 months. So it's an easily 12, 16 months before our team evolved. But there's a lot of team structure that needed to be amended in order for us to actually reach these KPIs. So as I had touched on, is that what we've done in our organization is to try and leverage all of the different business units, right, in what is it that they want to achieve. If they had unlimited hands and unlimited brain capacity or brain power, what would they be doing, right? We've also created what we call a squad for every chief, right? So this means that we have dedicated resources. So I didn't get additional headcount to my team, but what we then decided to do is, we took the team that we had within my team structure and my technology partner. We then reallocated our resources to try and focus on looking after each department. So we then decentralized our team, even though there is a center of excellence functionality that looks after ways of working, standards, and best practice. But what it is that we automate is kept to the different squads. So these are very, very lean squads, in that it's not as if it's a fully functional squad with 20, 30 people. It's the most basic squad that you can ever have. You've got a Scrum Master, which is a shared resource. You've got a product owner, which is unique to the business unit. You've got a developer, business analyst, and a process engineer that is a shared resource. The process engineer is quite a senior resource in that they're the ones who generally engage with the executives to try and understand what are the outcomes that they want out of their team, right? And then our process engineers then will redesign, simplify the processes, and see what the best possible technology is. So sometimes you would find that our automations are not only just RPA, and that at times if we could integrate with the API and also use RPA, we do that. Sometimes we need to build front ends, and I'll talk to again how we're able to do that through our team structure. We're able to build front ends that talk to APIs, that talk to machine learning engines, that integrate with the business process in terms of long running processes. Then we have RPA being that last leg that does the execution based on the decision that's made by the person that is in the loop of the process. So you'd find that now, where we would have had a partial automation in terms of business benefit, through the integration of different technologies, we're able to then have an increased value proposition to the business units. We're able to get more end-to-end journeys automated. And most times we've actually been able to create even new business functions, because now business is not really focusing on the FTE, right? They're focusing on how do we grow the business through technology. And one of the things the guys on my team always tease me about is, I always give the example of when the ATM started. I know it's a very rudimentary concept, but when the banks started with automated teller machines, right, their biggest focus was being able to service customers, to be able to self-service in terms of cash withdrawals at any time and anywhere, wherever it was safe for the machines to be located, right? And then when mobile banking started, or even online banking started, again, the focus was, how do we get our customers to be able to do transfers, open accounts, do all of the transactions that they would have been able to do in the branch, but now at the comfort of their own home. So their strategy from a banking perspective was to have the customer at the heart of everything that they do, right? And at the same time, by focusing on the customer, they then are able to say, what if the customer could do XYZ? What if the customer could open a new account? What if we could link all the profiles so that the customer doesn't have to go into the branch to do this and do that? By the time we actually looked up, and it was 2018, a lot of the functionalities that were traditionally in the branch have moved either to your device and to the mobile app, or it could have been through the online banking. But the discussions, because I'm primarily from banking, right? The discussions were never about what is the FTE linked to one ATM being deployed on the field. But the result of that is that branches needed less people, but it was an evolution. So I think the moment I was able to articulate that kind of, and everybody understands this journey that I just explained, right? So why is it that then for RPA, our focus is, and I always say it's a lazy way of thinking about technology, that we want to just replace. Whereas in my mind, technology should be that area where you want to build more. If the result does come that it does affect ways of working in terms of people, that's where you bring in your HR managers and where you bring in the change managers and all of those things that are very important, because we can't run away from the fact that any digitization initiative will have an impact on people in one way or another. And impact doesn't necessarily mean bad. right? In that I've found that the way that our team is structured is that I look after the strategy from a group perspective. So that means that I almost need to come up with a way to make business understand what the value of RPA and AI is. But at the same time, my manager is the managing executive that looks after machine learning, AI, and RPA. So at any given time, if I come across a business problem, and when I say I, it could be one of my process engineers or business analysts, if they're engaging with business and they come across a business problem, sometimes the problem needs to be solved by a machine learning solution or artificial intelligence solution. Sometimes it's an RPA pure solution. Sometimes it's a merger of the two. So what we've then found is that because we are in the same team as the data scientist team in Vodacom, we are able to tap into this knowledge where we have info sharing sessions where even the data scientists didn't know what RPA was, right? So for them, it was this black box that they are still intimidated by. And that gives them an opportunity to grow and learn. And in the same way, our developers are also just as interested in understanding what is machine learning and what it isn't. So we've also then been able to create the center of excellence of AI, machine learning, and RPA because we've now started to see the benefits of having a holistic manner in how we deploy the technology. And I think if you look at my title in my role, it's digital process reengineering, right? So we're trying to get our processes to be as digital as possible. And because we all know in any legacy industry that a lot of the processes are cluttered and they're not simplified, the value of the process engineer, right, is starting to become quite crucial in that we don't automate for the sake of automating. And they also be able to simplify processes before we automate and sometimes eradicate because some of these processes were there, 20 years ago and nobody's really questioned as to why some of these solutions or processes are still relevant because maybe there's a feature on the previous technology that wasn't there, but since there have been enhancements, so they've been able to not only just automate, but sometimes eradicate wastage in the system. So I just want to walk you guys through two particular use cases where our key focus here was to build new end-to-end processes in that we know that there's a lot of customers and the way that industry is going in any industry that you're operating in is the customization of the service that we offer customers is quite important in that we've got enough big data on our customers' behavior that we could actually customize unique deals to the customers. But because our machine learning engines are not in a position to be able to rapidly deploy new products to customers. And also because of our software development lifecycle, we've been unable to reach as many customers as we possibly could. So what we then did as of last year, we actually found a way for our machine learning engines to be able to identify specific customers that they want to target for different products. They push the different offers to the customers using USSD or WhatsApp. Customer then responds on the handset to say, okay, actually, I do want this new data contract. And then once they've responded to that, the response goes to the bot and the bot will then create the new contract on behalf of the customer on our CRM. So I think one of our biggest benefit areas is where we've actually found that we actually were able to collect in-year revenue of over 54 million since these campaigns have been launched. And another journey that we've since started on is we are unable to easily predict who are the customers that have got a high propensity to churn, right? But we do have the historical data. So there's certain elements that we built into our predict engine. Then another thing was now that we know, right, who are these top customers that have a high propensity to churn, how do we engage with our account managers in order for them to know which customer to target, when to target it, and why to target them? They never had that platform. So we're using our RPA solution called Action Center, where there is a feed from the machine learning that is fed directly to this action center, and the alerts get sent to the account managers. They know which customers to target when, and then we would find that then we're able to target the right customers at the right time, where we're able to then be able to reduce the amount of churn that we've experienced. And I mean, this is a journey, right? So there's still a lot of more features that we want to add to these functionalities, but this is one of our strongest use cases, where we've actually found that even the account managers are now feeding or providing feedback on how we could enhance the machine learning engine. And that's something that we've never thought of before, on how we could operationally improve the engines through the engagement of people and getting feedback from external factors that would not traditionally would have been considered as part of the machine learning journey. But this is where we've seen a great, this is like one of our top journeys, but it's not the only ones that we've had. We've had plenty chatbots journeys where we started off with RPA and then we replaced the RPA with APIs. So that's another thing that I think we are not attached to the final solution. If RPA becomes an enabler that enables the digital journey to start, then we've won the battle, in that we're using RPA to be first to market for certain journeys, to try and fast track delivery in our agile sprints, that even if we use the bot for 3-6 months, knowing that we're building a final solution in the form of an API, that is something that we actually know strategically is something that we want for people to use RPA better, in order for us to be seen as that enabling technology that brings value to the organization at a rapidly fast pace. I think that's it on my side. Please join me in the Q&A session afterwards. Thank you.